So, after living in Japan for just under 3 months with my wife and daughter, I can quite safely say that there's quite a difference between the English and the Japanese culture. Although there's quite a lot of Western influences visible when you're walking around, um, it's also quite easy to see that the Japanese cultures and traditions haven't disappeared. We live in the prefecture of Chiba. It's on the east side of the Honshu Island, neighbouring Tokyo, so it's quite nice just going in for a day into Tokyo. The town that I live in has over 100,000 people, but I'm pretty sure half of those people seem to live in the area where I live, in around about a square kilometre distance around us. The only way I can explain that is that we live in a village of apartment blocks, and just in our small little area there's about up to 100 of these buildings around us. We're about a 15 to 20 minute walk away from the nearest train station. There's pretty good links to most of the main towns around us from there. If you walk 10 minutes in one direction, you come across like a massive farmland, which is quite a surprise because obviously there's a lot of buildings in the area I am in, and then suddenly this vast area of what appears to be nothing. I've been told by numerous people that if you walk through the farmland and come to a river, you'll be able to see Mount Fuji in the distance, which is completely true. But they didn't tell me that I had to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning in the freezing cold winter where the skies are clearest to get the best view, and that when I do see it, actually it's so small I need a telescope to be able to view it. Convenience appears to be a big thing in Japan. It doesn't matter where you are, you will find a vending machine, whether you're in the big city or whether you're in the countryside. They're really useful actually because they serve cold and hot drinks, which is pretty much amazing, especially on a cold day. Alongside that, there's also useful things like 24-hour shops, which are available to pay your water bills or buy flight tickets or buy show tickets. Another good thing about that is the fact that they've got hot cabinets for food inside them, so you can go down there in the middle of the night when you're feeling hungry and just pick something at random to eat. Most of the time mine would be fried chicken though, because it's absolutely delicious. But enough with the random talking, let's go and have a look around the apartment. So through the front door and into the first area called the Genkan. This is where you take your shoes off and are invited into the house by the homeowners. It's a pretty boring area really, but there is one little fact that could liven things up, and that's that this area is actually known as public space throughout Japan. So even though it's in your apartment, people can actually come into this area and no one would bat an eyelid. That can come as quite a surprise to someone who's from England especially, because the only thing that would be met to someone who appears in someone's house unannounced would be a baseball bat round the head. I mean, don't get me wrong, us English love having people round, you know, British tea, a cream scone and all that kind of business. Well, most of us, but it would become a surprise to anyone to see someone just randomly unannounced in their house, and that's why we keep our door locked at all times. Next is the sink area. Now the Japanese kind of have a routine built in for when they come in from being outside. Take their shoes off at the Genkan, come to the sink area, wash their hands, and then they gargle water, as it apparently helps prevent colds and sore throats because the air is quite dry in Japan. And so I did the English thing and completely ignored what everyone said about gargling water because I thought it looked a bit silly. And now I've ended up with a voice that sounds like a pubescent Randy Savage.
Oh yeah!
Onto the bathroom, and the first thing we see is a little square bath. Possibly my favourite part of the house actually, because it's got a fancy little gadget on the wall that controls the bath. Basically you press one button and it fills up the water perfectly to the correct temperature and to the correct height that you want it at, and then it even does a little song to tell you that everything's ready for you, so it's the perfect thing for a lazy person like myself. Next is a shower. The only difference in this area between England and here is the fact that the water actually drains onto a wet room floor and then goes into a cavern that's underneath the bath. Now to me that screams like a mould paradise, but no problem so far, so we'll carry on. And out of the bathroom through these Fusuma sliding doors, massively useful. They don't take up much room at all in the flat, and they can be unclippable from the door frame as well, which is kind of strange. but useful if you've got big furniture to take around. And now we're in this room. The first thing you'll notice is the electric carpet, but that's pretty self-explanatory and really useful in the winter as there's no central heating within these apartments. And then over to another set of Fusuma sliding doors which we can open up to see a massive storage space which is kind of secretly hidden. These areas are really useful for storing numerous things like your baby's nappies, to old computer games that you've bought but you can't play because you can't understand the language, onto the main room. And really there's only one thing to talk about here, and that's that little table. It's called a kotatsu and it has a heater underneath, and it's great for the winter months. It's a must need thing in Japan. It's controlled by this little device where you can alter the temperature, and basically you put your legs underneath this super thick blanket and you can heat up and make sure that you're completely warm throughout the time you're in the house. I personally think on the hottest temperature it could probably give you a suntan as well, but if you're like me and burn at literally the height of any temperature, then you'll know that your kotatsu is always kept at -1. Through some more doors into the kitchen. I think our kitchen's quite big for a Japanese standard. I've been in a few and I've seen a few online, and they all look really small, but ours, we've got quite a lot of space which is useful for preparing food. Most of our cooking's done on this small camping stove here. It's pretty much perfect for people who live in Japan because the kitchen's so small, and it's definitely useful for me and my cooking level, which is currently at shin noodle standard. A few of the other bits we've got in this kitchen are a microwave, which looks fantastic, but I can't actually operate because I can't read any of the instructions. And we've also got a rice cooker, which for some unknown reason manages to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star when you turn it on and when it's finished cooking. And the last thing I'd like to show you is this 3D jigsaw down here. Now, while at first I thought it was going to be perfect for the house because the floor's quite slippery underneath and it's really easy to put together, but it's ended up being hours of entertainment for my daughter and a million hours of frustration for me. Thank God that's all done. Now it's time for a beer. We can leave the kitchen now and go through this door and onto our very own balcony. When I first heard we had a balcony in our apartment, I was thinking, wow, that sounds amazing, because my vision of a balcony would be for people who are rich or government officials that just cheat on their taxes. So I was just really excited, but then when I got here I realised that balconies are actually not that unique in Japan. Pretty much everyone's got one, and they're pretty drab looking. You can see the main features of our balcony is a pink washing line, a stinky nappy bin, and beautiful views of the countryside. And on to the last room, which is the bedroom. As you can see as you walk in, there's nothing in here apart from condensation on the window and an electric carpet on the floor, and that's because the beds are actually kept in another one of these storage cupboards. People who live in Japanese apartments mostly sleep on futons because it saves space because the space is so small. So every morning they pack away the futon and every night they put down the futon. I've got to say though, they're massively comfortable and warm. The duvet's about as thick as an Eskimo's jacket, so it's great in the winter time. So that's the end of the tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Put a comment in if you wanted to know any more information, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.